Welcome to a new anime review series. Yep, today this morning I finished with Trigun, and this morning I said I was going to review this series, and I'm going to review it. It's a series this is the second time I actually watched this in series entirely all the way through, though I did watch the last season that aired for the show. What show is this? Inuyasha! Yep, a show that aired from 2000 to 2004. One of the people in my church basically recommended this series to me years ago. Because at that point in time, the only anime I had watched was Dragon Ball, that particular franchise. I also watched Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Digimon. Those series and a little bit of Cardcaptor Sakura when I was younger. Yeah, this is a series I was recommended, mentioned to me several times, and I eventually did watch it after the series went off the air. The series is really good. But for this particular review, I'm not going to review the entire damn series in one episode. No, I'm not going to do that. I made that mistake when I reviewed Naruto. Yeah, when I reviewed over 200 episodes in one video. Yeah. So, this one I'm covering, like I did with Ranma half, the first 8 episodes of the series. And how much of the manga does these episodes cover? In just 8 episodes, is it... Let's say it's 16. Nope. In 8 episodes, the series covers 22 chapters. Yep. Now, mostly put, these episodes are multi-parters in a way, with the exception of episode 8 is a standalone episode. First 2 episodes are pretty much the introduction to the series. You can think of these as 2 loosely connected episodes. The very first episode of the series, we get introduced to about... I think it's about 7 characters, actually about 8 in just the first episode alone. We're introduced to the titular character Inuyasha, his priestess girlfriend Kikyo, her sister Kyote, along with Kagome, the main narrator of the series, and pretty much the co-protagonist of the series, along with her mother, her brother, and her grandpa. And of course, they also introduce a demon in the episode. Basically, these 7 characters will appear throughout the entire rest of the series. Though Kikyo not very much as these other ones, but they generally do. The first part of the episode is a flashback. Yep, this episode not only introduces these 7 characters, we also get introduced to the world of the Inuyasha franchise. Mainly the fact there's a bunch of demons here and the shook up basically Future Japan era. Along with the fact that there's a well called the Bonier's Well, which Kagome basically throughout the entire series will travel back and forth this thing from the future Japan, from her time, which is at that point anyways, the late 1990s, up until go back to pretty much the 1400s. She does this throughout the entirety of the series. And it's referred to as the Bonier Well. Her home is a frequent location in the series, along with the Kikyo's village, though how the first episode opens up is quite bizarre, because it's contradicted within 5 minutes later of the scene itself. This is by far famous for being one of the most well-received series done by the female writer of the series, Risenko Takahashi. This is also her longest series she's ever done. Yes, the series lasted for a little over 11 years. You want to know how many chapters this one published? 568 chapters. Which, damn, that's a lot. Because if you look at all the rest of her series she ever published, the only ones come close around this series is Ranma half. There's 2 series that she's had. Her original one and the one I'm probably going to review in future, Rennie. Those 2 were pretty much over 300 chapters. There's one that's over 100, but this one's the longest one she did, spending 11 years in this damn series before stopping and then doing the series I'm reading right now, Rennie. And the remaining characters over the course of the series are introduced, some of whom basically introduced a bit later on. Now, in the opening credits, we do see about a few other characters. I'm not going to say who they are now, because 2 of whom are going to be, I'll mention it in my next review. They get introduced those particular episodes. Yep. Now, in the opening scene, we have Inuyasha, who basically is going on a rampage. And this is, of course, when he was still a bad guy. Yep. Steals the jewel, the sacred jewel, in its original form, along with his little shark teeth necklace thing. Yeah, why it looks like this. In case you're wondering, this series ever explained. Now, the jewel itself was made by some other person. Now, they don't explain who made the jewel. They don't explain that the series is almost over. But why it's on this necklace for is never explained in the series. And also, Kikyo herself basically sees this and shoots Inuyasha, though she's also wounded. How she got this way is not explained till later. Yes, it's a plot point because you see her basically when you see her shoot Inuyasha, she's bleeding from behind. What caused this is not explained till later. Yeah, one of the villains of the series actually did that to her. Yeah, but this actually contradicts what happens later. Like, okay, is this thing set in feudal Japan or modern day? Because I see railings. These look like metal railings and smooth walkways. Yeah, and they say this whole area was turned into a forest. How? This is one of the things that basically, as far as I know, was never explained in the series. Like, okay, we have Inuyasha get pinned to a tree, and he's there for 50 years. They'll explain how he gets out. I'll get to that more in a minute. Cut to present day. We see Kagome getting ready for school. Of course, we see her cat. We introduce her mom. Her annoying little brother, who's a third grader. It's real. Actually, in the 5th episode of the series, he's actually a third grader. While Kagome is in high school. She is 15 years old. And her brother is a third grader. So I'm thinking, though, third grade. He must be... How old do I think he might be? Given the fact they probably start basically on time. Unlike here, basically might be here behind. I'd say he's probably... And this is my person. I think he's about 8. I'd say. No, wait, because normally first graders in Japan usually I was thinking it was 7. I think he's probably close to 10. I'd say probably 9. Yeah, I'd say he's probably 8 or 9 years old. They don't really say how old he is in the series. It's just that, oh, he's Kagome's little brother. Yeah, a little brother who's like 10 years younger than she is. Like, more like 8. Like, this is nothing unusual for some series I've watched, where you have a character who's a teenager, you have a little brother, and usually little brother is basically, because I have a little brother myself, though he, of course, is like 2 inches taller than me, though he is 2 years younger than me, not 8 frickin' years. Yeah, though I have a little sister who is 4 years younger than me. Yeah. But my guess is the mother must basically wait a long time to have another child after she had the first one. This is probably nothing usual for Japan, so this is perfectly normal standard for them. So, in her school uniform, and then while the brother's looking for their cat, this adorable little cat. This cat does occasionally appear in the series. I don't remember the cat's name. And apparently their father, the grandfather, loves explaining strange stories. He sells duplicates of the Sakar jewel. Oh, what happened to the jewel after Kikyo pinned him to the tree? Kikyo died. This, of course, is explained in the very next episode. And the jewel was burned with her body. Yep. What happened with the ashes? In case you're wondering, when does that get explained? That is not explained to episode 15 of what happened to her ashes. Yeah, it's particularly very interesting of where they put them. Yeah, that's not explained. I'll explain that in part 2. So, after she's buried, somehow the jewel is in Kagome's body. Yeah, this has never been explained, aside from the fact that, well, Kagome's got a striking resemblance to her. She's also got this mysterious power in her. Yep. So, she's basically goes to Bonnier Well, which has like a little feather on it, supposed to keep it sealed. And then, like, Kagome basically just looks at it, and all of a sudden, like, a bunch of arms just grab her. This is Mistress Centipede making her only appearance in the series. Though, this is actually her only appearance in the actual series, because she appears in this one episode. Yeah, Mistress Centipede. Dragged straight to the past, and Kagome's able to block her, but knock out one of her arms. One of her 6 arms. Yeah, 6 arms. Why she's called Mistress Centipede? Because it's a woman with the centipede body. That's why it's called Mistress Centipede. She gets to the present day, comes across Inuyasha, where she does something that her mother does in episode 3, when she first meets Inuyasha. Pulls the dog ears. Just plays with him. I'm like, okay, that's actually quite hilarious. The fact that she did that, because any person would love to play with a dog's ears. It's like, okay, I got that in my system. And then, of course, well, then she goes to the village where apparently she's taking the village where she's tied up. I'm like, what the heck is this? Probably an old standard thing. And the priest looks at her like, oh, you look like my sister. Let it go. Basically explain about the whole jewel thing, which they... Where this thing is basically... It's actually in her body. Where it is particularly very strange. It's actually in her side near... I think this is where her liver is. Why the heck it was put here for... As far as I know, the series never explained this at all. Not even the manga about to explain it. Aside from the fact she's Kiko's reincarnation. Yeah. So, and then somehow with her special power, she inadvertently wakes up Inuyasha. And then she comes across them to run away from Mr. Centipede. And then she just proceeds to like, okay, we need some help basically taking Mr. Centipede. Let's just free Inuyasha. It's like, and of course Inuyasha can't move the arrow because it's a sacred arrow. He can't touch anything that magical. So he has to come and pulls that and the thing just disintegrates. Somehow she squishes it. And then he uses his ability to basically, of course she also gets the jewel removed from her body, and of course Centipede swallows it, sheds the flesh thing that she had, and then she becomes sort of powerful, and then basically Inuyasha slices her up with his Iron Steel Soul Reaper. Yeah, a move he would use up until he gets his famous sword that he's known for using throughout the entire franchise. Yep. And they take the jewel, and then the corpse, then the Mr. Centipede body turns to dust, and then of course, well, they think he's about to help out, and then they pretty much just chase him away. Simple as that. And then, like, in the very next episode, he goes to steal the damn thing. And then, basically, Kika's like, I knew this was going to happen. Takes out a set of prayer beads and puts her in Inuyasha's neck. Yep, a set of prayer beads. We have the subject game. Okay, so how do we stop him? Like, okay, and of course, come here. Oh, he's a dog. So, sit, boy. And he crushes right through the freaking bridge. Yeah, it's a gag of the whole series. That every time, basically, Goma gets mad at him for something, she will tell him to sit. Sometimes like 20 times, nearly breaking the man's back. Just because he's a jerk to her, or he does something really stupid. Yeah. And with the thing around his neck, he's neutralized. Oh, in case you're wondering, does this prayer bead ever get removed in the series? Nope. These prayer beads are around his neck for the rest of the series. Yeah, episode 2 is the introduction of that, plus a plot device that will stretch out the entire damn series. Yep, the jewel, basically, first he's taken by a group of humans, and of course they show up these demon crows in the episode. Yes, these demon crows who have 3 eyes. Yeah, and they're very creepy. That's how they're demonic. And of course, Iwash knows they're there, but doesn't do much or anything. She's, of course, taken by a group of humans while basically looking away to go home. Bonir as well. She actually goes back into it for the next episode. And she comes across like this gang of criminals who are dressed in traditional feudal Japan warrior, basically, garb. And their boss basically wants a jewel. And he starts slicing him. Like, Mint's like, what the heck what are you doing? Like, yeah, it turns out he's actually possessed by a demon crow. Who actually off screen removed his damn heart and basically made a nest in there. Sheila, and of course, her giving them orders caught, and she inadvertently takes over as the leader of the gang. Oh, in case you wonder, do these characters ever return after this? As far as I know, they don't. They disappear right after this scene. And of course, they only get the guy go after the jewel. She throws the jewel outside, which is picked up by the demon bird. And then, of course, Demon Bird picks up a boy, which dumps in the water. Does anybody go after him? Well, one person does. Kagome, who's actually a very good swimmer. Yeah, they reveal this in this very episode. And, of course, the villagers think she's a demon. All because she can swim very well. Yep. And, of course, before she gets in the water, she takes the time to remove her shoes and her socks. which not a bad idea. And of course, well, I should also point out the good continuity of the series basically because when she was wounded in the last episode, they also tore her side of her shirt, which I think it's repaired by the very next when she next puts it on, because this appears like after like episode 2. And of course, she chastises Inyasha for not saving the little boy. He's like, I don't care. I really want the jewel. And then like she destroys the bird, the reforms. Then she basically tries to do a couple times of using like a bow and arrow. First time she uses it while it's possessed by the jewel. Doesn't work. She doesn't have to give a shot. And then she just like picks the bird up crow, which basically remains, fires the bird, and the bird's destroyed. And then we set up basically the big plot device of the series, looking for the shards of the Sekar jewel. Yes, it is shattered, and they find one piece of it. Oh, and by the way, they don't find their second piece until episode 8. Because they can break from that because somebody big is introduced gets introduced in episode 5. Yep, and in episode 3, we get to see one of the most hilarious scenes of the series. Like, Kagome is bathing, and she's like, why do you need to bathe for? Like, I have blood and mud all over myself. I need to clean myself. And of course, Inyasha is just sloshing off the tree. And then he does the unthinkable. He peeks at her right in front of her. And then she basically gets ticked off him, and she tells him to sit while he's basically sitting on the side of a cliff, though it's not very high anyways, and he hurts himself doing it. Like, that's what you get for spy on me? You mean peeping on you? He peeped. Yes, he peeked on you. And of course she proceeds to put on, not her normal clothes, no, she puts on a priest garb. And then he says something stupid which he gets her mad, and he basically tells her, like, as soon as Kide leaves, he says, get undressed. And then she needs to bop him in the head with a freaking rock. And it's like, I don't mean get naked, stupid. Get back in your normal clothes. Yeah, and the fact because she so looks like Kikyo that basically takes her and is like, okay, I'm going home. So she basically walks to the well. This is the episode we get used to Yuri the Demon Hair. Yep, this is the course of a two-parter. Where she gets there, and strange things happen in the village. And of course, he's called away because there's a girl who actually is not acting like herself. She's basically Charles moving around, and it turns out she's basically being controlled. By what? Hair! Yep, she's controlled by hair. Yeah, and the thing to defeat Yuri Demon Hair, which is a red skull, is shown in this episode, which is destroyed the very next episode anyway, so in order to get rid of her. Yep, and Kagome falls back in the well. Oh yeah, when she first gets to the well, we actually do see Mr. Centipede's bones from episode 1. Yeah, they're in the well because, well, Demon's defeated, so what are you going to do with these bones? You can't just bury them. That'd be a terrible idea. So why don't we put them in the well? Okay, not a bad idea. Yep. Yeah, and the bones are, from what I can tell, there for pretty much the rest of the series. They don't mention that they're Mr. Centipede bones. Yeah, the only way to know they're Mr. Centipede bones is you gotta been watching the series from the beginning. So, eventually she's accidentally knocked in the well by Yuri, and then she goes back home, takes a bath, gets relaxed, and Inyasha wants to get her back, so he follows her back to present day. Yeah, he's by far the only person who actually can do this, who actually can travel from feudal Japan to present day. He does this frequently the whole series. This time, it's actually because he really wants to come back to confront Yuri Demon Hair. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna kill me. And then basically her mother does the thing that she did back in episode 1. Pull out his ears. He's a bit annoyed at her, but he won't harm her because she's Kagome. I mean, he doesn't like Kagome very much, but he's not going to hit her mother right in front of her. Yeah, he's not that stupid. And he proceeds to kind of drag her back to because of course, well then that's when she sees the hair because there's feel that she and Kide basically can see the hair because the priestess power. What happened with Kide? She gets wounded, and Inyasha kind of saves her from the possessed villagers. So he basically kind of buries up to her neck with dirt and then covers her face with leaves. It'll protect her from Yuri because she can see the hair. And of course, Kagome is dragged back to the present because she has to. Then she proceeds to, of course, when she got back to the present the first time, she was actually gone for 3 days and didn't tell anybody about it. Yep. Though this time, basically, next time she goes back to the past, she's back gone for 2 days. Yep. So, they get back to present day, well, back to the past, and they take on Yuri Demon Hair. They basically first take her out hair in the present, and they follow her back to the past. It's quite strange, though, this hair followed her straight from the past. Yeah, this is never explained in this series of how a demon from the past can send her own power to the future. Through the Debonair as well. Inuyasha can travel through it. The other characters in the series, for some reason, never travel through it at all, which is, I'm thinking, that's weird. Yep, though she's able to bring objects in the future. Yeah, Kagome is, but not bringing her brother to the past, which, that's actually not a bad idea. Excuse me. But I would think, basically, it might be a good idea later on, basically, when you used to her other characters, they could at least bring to the past, so at least can meet them. Nope, I guess not. So, they come back. They take on Yuri. Of course, Inuyasha gets, of course, Inuyasha, before he goes in, he covers a part of his garb, which is revealed to be made from the hair of the flame rat. Yeah, where the heck Inuyasha gets this particular outfit is not actually explained, per se. Not that I can think of, no. Probably was given to him by his mother, which is actually brought up in the very next episode. They take on Yuri. Inuyasha, of course, seriously wounded in the episode. And then, of course, well, Kagome is the one who finds the red skull, smashes it, and gets rid of Yumi. And they recover the jewel that she took from the one sacred jewel shard that she took for her in the previous episode. Gets it back. I think, okay, are they going to get another shard next episode? Nope. The very next episode of the series, we can choose 3 important characters. Sesshomaru, Inuyasha's older half-brother. Jaku, his assistant. And Inuyasha's mother makes her debut, though the actual makes her debut in the flashback. Yeah, this sets up a 3-parter. Yes, a 3-parter. That's the whole point of episodes 5 through 7. You kind of think of these episodes as a Sesshomaru introduction arc. Because this is an introduction to him, basically, where he's wanting to get a boat to find the tomb of where the father is buried. Excuse me, where the great dog demon is buried is actually quite bizarre, to say the least. And eventually, after a while, it's revealed he's actually inside this black pearl, which is a gateway to another dimension. Now, where Inuyasha got this particular pearl from is, I think this was entrusted him by his I would say by his mother before she died. And of course, well, she mentioned she died prior to the series. How she died, I think she may have been murdered by some other people. They never really explore it in the series. They actually made a former lover of hers later on in the series, but how she died is not thoroughly explained, though she is chastised by the villagers for falling in love with a demon. Yep. And so they go to the other dimension. Of course, Kagome, of course, Inuyasha basically tells Kagome, hey, stay here. And basically, oh, also, there's one other character I forgot to mention this. Miyoge, the flea. Yeah, he's introduced in the very next episode. He's a recurring character. I should point out, though, appearance-wise, he's based upon Hippocyte from Realm of Half. Yeah, despite the fact he's this size now, not a full-grown guy. Yeah. And how Inuyasha, you first see him interact with Inuyasha, he sucks out his blood because he's a flea. By the way, he does this throughout the whole series. He's an occasional traveler with Inuyasha. He travels occasionally in the series, mostly to provide information. He first was Lord Inuyasha. Of course, in this episode, Sesshomaru was informed about his brother's revival, because his brother was dead, because of Kikyo. They get to this other dimension. What the heck this dimension is, in case you're wondering, does the Wicca explain what the heck this place is? Nope. There's a writer. Nope. It's just some other dimension that Sesshomaru and Inuyasha's late father is. His gigantic body. And Kagome points out, though, like, why is he so big? And Miyoga's like, That's his actual true form. He's a gigantic dog demon. And apparently part of Japan was actually his domain. Yeah, and you see when you go in, like, there's a couple fangs missing from his mouth. Yeah, what happened with those fangs? They're made into swords. Yep, there's actually a third sword used later. Yeah, this is basically an introduction to Tenseiga, Inuyasha's sword that he would have throughout the entire series. And when we look up images of this particular series, he's always seen with the sword in his hand. Episode 6 is the introduction of this particular sword. Yes, it takes 6 episodes to get used to the iconic sword. Yeah, it's like, we look at these particular episodes, it's like setting up elements that you see throughout the whole series. Yeah, I'll get to more in a minute. So they find the sword. And in case you're wondering, is it like this? I'm like, oh yes, it is. They get inside the body where they proceed to fight each other. Of course, we see Shimuru's other arm basically is a poison claw. Shimuru first he grabs the sword, blocks him. Inuyasha works for a bit, but it doesn't exactly like fully pull him out. Takes Kagome to pull out the damn sword, and Inuyasha basically is given the sword, and eventually he's able to use it as full form, as gigantic tooth fang. Yeah. The sword's made from his fangs. Who makes him is a swordsman. He occasionally appears in the series, but he's not introduced to a little bit later. Yep. And then Inuyasha proceeds to battle Shishimura in his true demon form. First inside the body of their father, and then basically battle him on his shoulder. Yep. And that's when he basically brings the true power of the sword, because he promises to protect Kagome. Proceeds to slice up Shishimuru's arm. By the way, does he ever get a replacement arm for this? Oh yes, he replaces his arm several times in the series. Yeah, well, which I'll get to that later, because where he gets these arms from is so bizarre. Some of the most random things. Yeah, he's missing his right arm. He's actually without this arm for the rest of the series. He gets replacement arms, but he never grows his arm back. Nope. And then eventually he gets knocked up, defeated. Joker chases off him. Of course, they lead the place. Somehow, Inuyasha gets the sheath that he has all the whole series. The sheath itself is a special thing for the sword. Yeah, it's explained a little bit later exactly what type of sheath this is. It's a very powerful sheath, though it does crack in a later episode. And then the part goes back into his eye, and that's that. So yes. And then episode 8, we finally get to look for the second shard. And this is a standalone episode. Yes, the first one of the series that's not a multi-parter or a loosely connected 2 episodes. This is a standalone episode. First one they have for the series, because next 2 are basically 2-parter. Ways used to basically we have Kagome. Of course, I should point out episode 5 was an introduction to another item beside from Jaku's staff, which they debuted in the episode. That's also the debut of Kagome's bike. An item she would use the entire series at Chabaran View in Japan. And it's also revealed in episode 5, that's when it was revealed that her brother's in 3rd grade, and when she's basically in present day, she's riding her mother's bike. Okay, perfectly fine. It's perfectly serviceable. Oh yeah, in case you're wondering, does the bike get wrecked over the course of this series? Oh, yes it does. It gets wrecked several times, but it does get fixed. But it's a recurring thing that basically she uses the whole series. Though she stopped using it for a couple episodes, but she gets it back anyways. Yep. And as far as I can tell, the bike is, in these episodes, the last item introduced. For a while anyways, until we get to another character that shows up in the very next episode. Yep, and we get a chance to meet a guy named Nobunaga. Now, when Kagome first meets the guy after he sort of has his monkey steal his clothes, which he also gets his hands on a bra, which I'm sure he's like, what the heck is this thing? It's a woman's bra! Yeah, in case you're wondering, did women back in feudal Japan ever wear these damn things? No, they never did. As far as I know, information I don't get vague. I don't get information like what exactly women wear underneath their komodos. They probably wear nothing. Yeah, it's probably the same thing for the guys. They wear practically nothing other than damn clothes. Well, no underwear, anyways. Yeah. So, yeah, and of course, what Kagome basically is our swimsuit. Oh, in case you're wondering, does she ever put on the swimsuit after this episode? From what I remember, no. This is probably the only time you see her in a swimsuit, basically swimming, not bathing. You see her bathing several times in the series, but not swimming. Mm-hmm. Yep, and she thinks it's this other guy that she's basically, of course, she's loved Japanese history, but it turns out nope, it's not him. He's just a vessel for another character, and basically he's informed about this Toad Lord. Yeah, who actually wants to sex holes of women. Yeah, it's a particularly very bizarre character who gets whacked several times when you watch them. Not gets sliced per se, but it turns out though this is actually the husband of the woman he loves, a smoking hot princess who's oblivious to his own feelings. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, when he reunites with her, and she's like, oh, it's good to see you again. There's a monkey on your head, which I think is so funny. This monkey is so hilarious. It's a gag that this monkey does hilarious things. Oh yeah, he does hilarious things. Eventually, of course, the demon is actually drawn out thanks to Kagome using hairspray and a mini torch. Yep, drags him out. Inuyasha basically slices the demon, takes out the shard, and we see the Lord. And he's got the weirdest face I have ever seen in an anime. Though, yes, his face is like this in the manga too. Like, oh my gosh, this looks so weird. Yep, and as far as I can tell, Nobunaga, the character introduced in this episode, he never appears after this. This is his only appearance. He does appear like in 4 chapters of the manga, which this episode pretty much adapts. But that's it for this character. Yeah, a one-shot character you can think of this character as. Mm-hmm. And of course, this episode also involved like this toad demon sucking out women's souls. And it's one of the most weirdest episodes of the whole series. It kind of feels fillerish, given the material basically given, but it's a canon episode. Yeah, by the way, in case you're wondering, the first filler episode doesn't happen until season 3 of the show. Yeah, because I think by the time they started adapting the series, the manga was already publishing for over 3 years. So they had plenty of material to basically adapt from. Though they actually kind of trimmed down basically how much of they adapt by the time we get to season 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. But not much else to say about these episodes. But in these episodes, we get used to a bunch of characters, a few items you can see over the course of the series. The items, the Tensaiga, Jaku's staff, the Bonier's well, Kagome's bike. Let's see. I think what items are introduced. The jewel, which is basically seen throughout the entire series. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Yeah, basically, oh yeah, the prayer beads, which is a common, basically a common look for Inuyasha. We get used to several characters, like a whole bunch of them who appear throughout the whole rest of the series. Basically, these episodes are great starts to the series, and I do recommend watching these episodes because these episodes are so good. Mm-hmm. Nothing really bad here. Plus, when you see the episode 6, which we see where they show off basically the gigantic, and of course, in case you're wondering, does anyone ever visit his father's grave after episode 7? Yes. Toward the end of the series. Well, the end of season 6, mind you. Yeah, he visited then. But the reason relates to the plot of season 6, basically involving the main villain of the series and one of the jewels. Yep. But that'll be explained in a later video when I get up to the final season of the show before I get to Final Act. Yeah, Final Act actually aired like a few years, like about 5 or 6 years after. Actually, if I can think of it, was actually aired 5 years after the manga, after the series ended, because they wanted to give the writer time to basically finish up telling their story and then adapt it, which is kind of smart for them to do. They brought it back and pretty much adapted the rest of the series anyways, just 26 episodes. How many chapters they adapt per episode is quite surprising, but I'll get to that when I get to Final Act. Okay? So, that's it for this particular review, and that's the last video I do today. So tomorrow, expect to see reviews for One Piece, Boruto, probably Inuyasha as well. My Hero Academia, I'm hoping to review newest chapter of One Punch Man, which did come out yesterday. And I think that'll be it. Basically about 5 videos back tomorrow. Hopefully anyways, okay? But see you next video. Bye.